like you or anybody need any more evidence that I love pomegranates and I deserve the title of the pomegranate guy, this episode is about pomegranates and Julie Byrne. So the first month after I magically manifested my first flat, I still had to do one thing to get my life fully started, is that to find a job in this notoriously expensive city to live in. And I knew I would manage somehow, like I did with the flat. I'm not gonna lie, it was very, very challenging and scary. If you are a foreigner who moved to a big city and had to get your life started, you know this feeling of seeing balance going down in your bank account. It is crippling. Well, that's what I was going through. But also, at the same time, another major thing I was dealing was some leftover business from my past in Japan, where I didn't fully close the curtain on from the last chapter of my life, where I was still obsessing over a heartbreak. There is a lot to go through if you're trying to adjust to a brand new life in this foreign land that you don't know anything about yet. What kept me sane and healthy? A lot of things, but main thing was pomegranates. So after I moved to Dalston, I was like the happiest guy on the planet, and I started exploring the market, Ridley Road. I finally reunited with my favorite fruit of all time. The first time I discovered pomegranates, this divine fruit, was when I was living in Canada. This was over a decade ago. My best friend Cece, she introduced me to this fruit, and then she showed me how to cut it. Like, she would cut the skin, and I was shocked what came out inside. And she slapped this thing with a spoon, and the seeds just come out like a magic. And I was like, what the hell is this? This is like a ruby. It's like a cone, jewelry cone. What is this? And just, I don't know, I was so obsessed. But when I came back to Japan, I couldn't find any. So there was this period of time that I didn't have access to pomegranates. And now I just remembered about this fruit, and I found it at Ridley Road. And I got obsessed again because it was cheap. There was times that I was able to get, let's say, 3 pomegranates and like 2 pounds or even less. So I would go there every day and come back every day and go to the kitchen, and I just prepare them. I would take the knife, the fruit knife, the wavy knife that I never used before, but it's really good. This is my only choice of knife these days. It's this tiny fruit knife. I would cut them carefully and open up. And I'm not gonna slap this. People do this spoon trick. You slap the skin and the seeds come out. That was the initial method I was taught. That's why I felt like I know the trick or whatever. But later on, I ended up working at the restaurant in Barbican, and one of the chefs, Romanian chef, she was very sweet too. Shout out to her. She was preparing pomegranates, right? And this new guy came to her, kind of like a bossy. He's like, "Oh, you don't know how to prepare pomegranates? I'll show you the fastest way." And he bring this like big spoon, and then Roxana goes, "I don't like that. I want to be nice to pomegranate." And she's one of those people who, when first time meet her, she's pretty intense, and she's kind of like straightforward, and kind of has a little angry vibe as well. But she's one of the sweetest people you ever meet if you get to know her deeply. So this is where she showed her true face, is that she was very, very soft and gentle to this beautiful fruit, and I really liked that about her. And he just kept pushing like, no, let me do it. And she looked at him in the eyes and she said, how old are you? And he just kind of stopped talking. And yeah, that was a moment I'll never forget. It was hilarious, but I'm the same with her. I don't like slapping pomegranates and leaving all this like juices all over the place, because I want to keep every single seed as clean and as whole as possible, so I can enjoy every single part of the fruit as you're supposed to. So this preparing pomegranates, taking time to peel the skin nicely, take out the seeds one by one, and keeping them nicely, neatly in Tupperwares, and store them freshly in the fridge with no water, because a lot of people soak them in water to get rid of the yellow skin inside as well. But when you do that, it gets soggy, so I literally don't let water touch my seeds. So that became my personal ritual. Jokes aside, I know it sounds funny, but I realize preparing a fruit with care and gentle touch and patience, and what I was doing is basically putting all my time and attention into something that matters, which is the definition of self-care. I was starting to understand empirically, not intellectually, because people talk about self-care, self-love, and all this stuff, but what the hell that mean? I was starting to understand that through preparation and consumption of my favorite fruit. And it had to happen during this time when I was settling in, because I was overwhelmed with all kinds of shit. And it was like meditation for me. At this time, I still didn't really understand what meditation was. Through pomegranate, I learned a lot of things. That's why I keep saying I love pomegranates, is that not because it tastes good or it symbolizes something cool. They both are true, but also pomegranates taught me something that I wouldn't have learned otherwise. It's hard to explain. And also the preparation really resembles the act of getting to know somebody, whether it's a friend, friendship, or romance, relationship, what have you. We are all like pomegranates. We have all this thick skin, but when you get to know somebody, you have to be vulnerable and open up to them. And if you decide to do that with somebody important enough for you, you eventually gotta learn to expose yourself. And well, for some people it is hard. Some people who have been hurt in the past, it is very challenging. But we all need connection, and in order to do that, you have to be able to be vulnerable with somebody. It doesn't have to be everybody. You can be selective, but unless you're able to do that, you push everybody away, and you're not going to be able to love. Everything you do in life comes with risks, whether it's speaking up, you're risking getting rejections, by hoping something, you're risking despair. By living, you're risking dying. And in order to love, you cannot love without risking getting hurt. So this is where vulnerability comes to play. And it is scary for a lot of us. But just like preparing pomegranates, you open up your skin, thick skin. You expose yourself, and at the same time, you are seeing what's inside of the other person as well. And just look at the pomegranate, what lays inside. It's literally like treasure. Like first time I saw pomegranate, it was like shocking, like whoa. I know it sounds cliche, but like in every person there's this like unique thing that you can't see unless you get to know them to deep enough level. And once you open up to somebody, obviously some people can take advantage of you because you're vulnerable. And sometimes you might decide, well, this person is not for me. Because until you get to know somebody, you don't know what they're really like. And it's okay. But if you decide to keep them, you're gonna store them. This sounds weird. But once you decide to keep them close to you, you keep showing up for each other with care and deep care for one another. And then eventually you get to finally develop this meaningful, deep connection. And friendship is easier for a lot of us, but relationship, this requires a lot more effort and a lot more showing up, and a lot more patience. And yes, I wrote in the song that throw them away if the sea's gone brown. This part, what I meant is that it's not like throw away if you discover they're damaged or scarred or something, throw them away. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about once somebody or some connection, friendship, relationship, what have you, stop serving you with compassion, leave. And sometimes leaving is the most loving thing you can do. That's what I mean by throw them away if the sea's gone brown. When something stops serving you, even though it served you before, walk. So essentially this is what Pomegranate is Blood is about. This process of ritual, of getting to know somebody deeply and discovering the genuine connection, which is one of the most beautiful things in the world that you can experience as a human being. So that was my intention. Musically, this is an interesting part of the story, is that up to this point, having made one album and an EP as a beginner producer, there was this huge gap between what these songs ended up sounding like and what these songs are supposed to sound like in my head. So this song to me represents one of the turning points in my music career as Tsubasa Lucid. With this song, I felt that I was finally able to articulate. It got pretty close. And 2 years later, I recorded, and the final product ended up sounding even better than what I imagined it should sound like. But it started in the stage of songwriting. So I am very proud of this song. Now when I talk about Pomegranate is Blood, and the inspiration and influence musically comes from predominantly one artist. I ran into her record accidentally in the first or second week when I ended up in Shoreditch, Brick Lane, and I discovered Rough Trade East. And I was browsing records, and I found this record that legit looked like Wise Blood record. It had this like italic, tilted, old English font. And it looks very cinematic, and there's a picture of this woman reaching out to you. And the record said, "The Greater Wings." And when you find a record that sounds like what it exactly looks like, this will be the perfect example. And I instantly fell in love with it. And if I have to pick adjectives to describe this record, that would be divine, ethereal, angelic, like you feel like you're in a lucid dream. This record was released in 2023, right before I came to London, actually. I felt the immense sense of peace, but also quiet pain in her voice. Sure enough, I discovered that during the making of this album, the artist, she lost her significant other, who happened to be the producer of this album. And then she turned this record into the album of grief. And especially the opening song, The Greater Wings, carries a different meaning now for her. This is a record of grief and heartbreak. But interesting thing is that it is very subtle and quiet and delicate sound-wise. But it is very broad and powerful. It's hard to describe with words. This album not only represents my influence on this new music I was writing, but also when I listen to this album, I can feel all the five senses, just like I'm still in the period of life I discovered this. And to me, this is the most beautiful album I've ever touched, and this is the biggest influence for Pomegranate's Blood. When I listen to The Greater Wings, I can feel the softness of the blanket of the first flat I freshly settled in, and the warm white wall, and this feeling of relief that I'm safe now. And when I listen to Moonless, I feel on my hand the weight of Sainsbury bag and going back home walking in the shopping mall of Dalston, and the smell of popcorn. And when I listen to Conversation is Flow State, I see the darkness of the night when I was walking down from my house to Angel Comedy and the cold wind touching my face. And this sense of excitement, I'm gonna see another stand-up comedy. And now I live in the biggest city in the world. And when I listen to Death is the Diamond, I can feel this loneliness and disconnectedness and the sense of lostness and anxiety in a bittersweet way in this new city that I still don't know anything about. And it's as powerful as it's ever been. Now, you cannot find her on the internet anymore. She disappeared off the face of the planet. Now, I assume because this album was released in 2023, freshly after she lost her partner, she's on her own healing journey. But when she comes back, man, I just cannot wait to see her perform. And if you ever hear this episode, for whatever reason, I'm the biggest fan of your music. So, Julie Byrne, please just keep making music. And this is what music does to people. It's somebody somewhere in the world who learned to play guitar and who learned to sing, gone through some hardship and adversities, writing songs, making music, or doing art. Just random stranger write a song about their personal struggle and eventually gets out there in the world. And this is very timely because last night, my friend Marusha, she was telling me, after I told her that I really fucking struggle with asking help from somebody. Like, to be specific, I feel this repulsive disgust when I promote myself out there. Asking people to come to the show, asking people to listen to my music. I rarely ever do that not because I don't think my music has no value. I believe in my music more than anybody. I'm the biggest fan of what I make since the day one. But because I have this deep fear, fundamentally, I am afraid. If I ask people for help, I have no control over my destiny. Therefore, I feel trapped and unfree. This is what my fear boils down to. And my friend Marusha told me, your art or creation is only yours while you're making it. Once it's done, it's detached from you. Whether people connect with it or not is not at all related to you personally. It's none of your business if they like it. Your business is to pass it along. This was like the light bulb moment. That's your job, is to just put it out there. And I'll never forget this. Another friend from London, she's a singer-songwriter and a poet. I was telling her the same struggle a while ago. And I'll never forget that she said, it's not the people doing you a favor by coming to your show and listening to your music. But when some people resonate with what you're making, it's you doing them a favor by sharing your gift to the world. And as an artist, like, we have to remember that. Especially in this social media era, promoting art on the internet can be so fucking shallow and superficial. But the point of making art is not, like they say, the destination is not the goal. Oftentimes, the process is the whole point. The journey itself is the destination. Just by making your art, you're doing your part. And whether people relate to it or not, it's none of your business. And this was a big liberation for me. Now, here's another concept. It's a very interesting one, is that the reason some of us feel this desire to create to begin with is that there's somebody out there, whether it's one person or millions of people, it doesn't matter. There's somebody out there that has to hear what you have to say in your own unique style. It's an interesting perspective, huh? So the idea is, don't keep them waiting. Don't keep them waiting by holding yourself back because of anxiety, self-doubt, unworthiness, insecurity, and fear of rejection. In the grand scheme of things, these things don't matter. And the paradox and irony, really, is by holding yourself back, you're already rejecting yourself before anybody can reject you. So what are you afraid of now? You're already experiencing rejection. So do your job and put your music out there so that person can have what they need to hear. And oftentimes, you're never going to know the effect your music have on other people. But if you keep putting yourself out there, performing and releasing music, if you're playing honest music, then at some point, you're probably going to have people come up to you. And there was so many occasions, and one of the things I remember is that there was this person who told me, this song makes me cry. Because I'm going through so much pain right now, and this describes exactly what I'm going through. And I listen to this song all the time. So thank you. And that is beautiful. Just like what the music I love did to me in the past, where they provided this sense of relief and understoodness. Oh, I'm not the only one who feels this way. I'm not crazy. And here comes this weird, odd sense of belonging to this invisible community that you didn't even realize existed seconds ago. And you suddenly discover that you're not alone anymore. And this is literally and precisely the power of music, is that your pain is serving some stranger across the ocean, like thousands of miles away, that you're not aware of, in the most beautiful way possible that you can't even perceive. And that's what Julie Byrne's music did to me. And I wrote Pomegranate is Blood. And then maybe this song is going to do the same thing to other people. Who knows? That's what's fun about it.